Come on, put the crosshair down, please. I got a video to make, bro. I'm gonna tell you all about the things that people don't tell you about crosshair placement. It's about game sense. It's super interesting. So come on. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay. Jeez Louise, dude. I mean, come on. I got a family. Look, this is my son. I have a family. Before we jump in, this video is sponsored by my very first sponsor ever, GG Gear. I thought gaming sleeves were completely unnecessary until GG Gear sent me some, and holy smokes are they fire. Sometimes I used to wash my arm to reduce friction when I was feeling sweaty or I was feeling off, but no more because these gaming sleeves provide way less friction. These sexy sleeves have had some insane results on my gameplay because now I feel way more consistent with the sleeve on. And you can see the results in my stats. No wonder pros wear them. They also give me confidence because, man, they look super cool, so go grab one. The link is in the description. We love crosshair placement, don't we? It's probably the most important aspect to aiming in CSGO besides having a mouse. And on a surface level, crosshair placement is pretty easy to understand. You put your crosshair somewhere where somebody's gonna run into it, and then when they do, you click. You don't even have to move it. Or you put your crosshair somewhere and then you move and put somebody else inside of your crosshair without moving your mouse. Like, it makes sense, right? When I started playing CS, I consumed mini guides on crosshair placement, and everything made sense. It was very simple, but then when I jumped into a game, the world wasn't so white and black anymore, was it? And this is because crosshair placement is informed by your game sense. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to game sense, which means that there's a lot of gray area when it comes to crosshair placement. So this is a video about that all-important gray area that gets you kills. Now I'm gonna run through a list of factors, variables, whatever you want to call them, that affect your crosshair placement, how you should place your crosshair on the map, and comment below if I'm missing one, if you don't think I caught one accurately, because there's a ton. The time of the round, the number of players remaining, the way the enemy is played in previous rounds, your confidence in your aim, the speed at which you're trying to clear out angles, the gun you have, the guns the enemy has, the eco of your enemy team, util that has been previously thrown by the enemy team, and also util thrown by your team can also inform your crosshair placement. Again, that's just kind of my brain vomit, so please comment if I'm missing anything. So now that I've tried to explain this, you're probably thinking, like, isn't this just like the entire game of CSGO is trying to guess where your opponents are and put your crosshair on them? And it's like, kind of, yeah. I'm gonna run through a bunch of examples and talk through how these variables should affect your crosshair placement, and this is gonna allow you to get way more kills. So let's go. So let's start with holding angles. Now we're starting with the basics, but we're going to get more complicated. So first, let's just go over when you're holding an angle, your crosshair placement should be determined by how you think the enemy is going to peek. What I mean by this is that T's can swing this wide, they can shift walk out, they're trying to be sneaky, and they can crouch peek, they can maybe jiggle and then swing out. So typically by default, I would say keep your crosshair wider than you think you need to. A lot of us put our crosshair right against the angle because we think we have superhuman reactions and we're just gonna boink, but that's just not the case. We got to give our brain some time to react. So put your crosshair wider than you think. Give it a little bit of space. And this especially goes for if you hear people running up, you know they're gonna run and wide swing this angle. Keep your crosshair nice and wide so you're ready for that wide swing and you don't have to do a big reaction flick over to them. However, if you're playing sound and you hear nothing, it's quiet, you should have your crosshair a bit closer to the angle. I'm not gonna have it right on it yet, but I'm still gonna have it much closer so then if somebody shifts walk around the corner, I'm ready for that. So there are the basics, but what I want to add to this is to take into account the enemy's economy, right? So let's say it's pistol round, for example. You see these pro clips where they place their crosshair way out here, they don't even move it, and then they get like a 4K. That's because all the T's, with the increased speed of their pistols, they're swinging around super fast, right? So they have their crosshair way out there ready for that huge wide swing. And this goes for SMGs too. If you hear that the enemy team is on an eco, they got Mac 10s or something, hold your crosshair even wider than you think you have to. I also mentioned jiggling, right? So T jiggles this and then they try to swing out and kill you.
don't get baited by the jiggle and commit to shooting close, because then they're gonna swing out wide, right? So hold your composure, hold a wider stance, and be ready for that fight. And also be ready for them to crouch, because a lot of times after somebody jiggles, they're gonna crouch swing like that. The last thing I'll add to holding angles is that in my peeking video, I talked about turning holds into peaks, right? Just don't stand here idly holding an angle forever. Duck into cover, peek out, hide for a bit, 4 or 5 seconds. Try to hit timings on your enemies and have your crosshair placement ready for that, right? Maybe if you've been hiding for a long time, you haven't swung out in, let's say 10 seconds, then your crosshair placement should be holding for a bit wider, right? Because you know it's possible that they've walked up. A bit wider, clear that, come back here, and then clear this. My second theme I want to cover is using jiggling to expose the angles that your enemy is playing. So at a basic fundamental level, crosshair placement, boom, you swing out. Somebody should be standing there with their head right on this on angle right here, right? But that's not the case. That's not always what happens. So if I'm trying to peek long, I swing out, boom. Oh, he's close to the angle and he's crouched. That is not what my crosshair is ready for. So by jiggling, I can get a brief glimpse of him, and then in cover, I can boom, lower, adjust, and then be ready to get that kill super quick. Another example is maybe they're holding a little bit wider than we expect them to. So you see, my crosshair is ready for somebody to be playing closer to the wall and to be standing, but this guy, he's standing a bit wider and he's hugging the back wall, which is gonna mess up my crosshair placement, and I'm gonna have to adjust. But with a few little jiggles, oh, I saw him. Now I can move my crosshair further left and be ready for that fight just like that. Now, my third point here is that you don't always need to go for headshots, and that should inform your crosshair placement. And this is based on a bunch of variables, and one of them is the weapon you're using. And one weapon I love to use is the Scout. It's an awesome gun, and it's known for the one-tap headshots, right? It's really flashy. It can be very impactful at opening a round up. But what a lot of people don't think about is how impactful just hitting body shots with the Scout is. It does about 70 damage to a full armored person. And so if you're able to land 2 or 3 just body shots with the Scout, especially if your team is on an eco, your team has deagles, SMGs, just softening the enemy team up like that with body shots is so big. And now I know, like, getting a headshot and just outright killing somebody, that's definitely more impactful than hitting somebody for 70, but it's less consistent. I'm not going to be able to tap, every time I see somebody, get a tap for a headshot. Lots of times I'm just going to go for a quick body shot, soften them up, and let my team play around that. Now, this is one that really bugs me, and that is on pistol rounds. If you know an enemy doesn't have armor, stop holding your crosshair at head level. You don't need to be doing these silly little trying to get a headshot dancy games. Just spam them. You can get them down 1, 2, 3, boom, dead. Just aim for the Venus crotch area. I know it's embarrassing having your crosshair down looking at the ground, but dude, you can kill people so fast when they don't have armor on pistol round. And so when you're on Inferno, let's say, and you're on T side, you run up banana, 2 nades come from banana. A lot of people are going to be intimidated. They say, let's not go B. We just took some damage from there. No, fucking run at them. Look at the fucking ground and just spam them, dude, because they'll die so quickly. Now this one is pretty obvious, but dude, I still even see it in high elo, and that's with an op. Stop aiming so freaking high. You don't need a headshot. You don't need to hold this high. Aim for the center of mass. So you see, when you're aiming high, you're aiming like neck head level. Man, that's a small target to hit, but center of mass, oh, that's a big gushy CT chest that I can shoot at, right? And even if he crouches, then boom, my crosshair is still ready. I'm gonna headshot him if he crouches. So please hold your crosshair lower with the op. My final variable or situation here that should inform you to lower your crosshair placement is if you get info that the person who you're about to fight, or maybe you're in a 1v1, if they're low HP, lower your crosshair placement, right? You don't need to come out swinging, going for that little head of theirs. Just aim at their big fat body, and then boom, he wasn't low HP, but you get what I mean. Imagine he was. Just secure the kill. You don't need to make it flashy. You don't need a headshot. Secure the kill, secure the round. Now let's talk about crosshair placement when you're entrying. Now this is more complicated than, if I'm just trying to look for a pick on A, I can clear every angle. I can go 1 by 1, go slower. But if I'm entrying, I want to make space for the team, which means I have to go fast, which means I can't clear every single angle as I run out, right? That's not effective. So I have to use my game sense to inform where my crosshair placement should be. And to do this, we have to think back to the variables I mentioned towards the beginning, right? What kind of buy are they on? What time is it in the round? What have they been doing in previous rounds? So let's say I know from the previous round that there's an opper on A. That means that he's probably gonna play CT, right? So when I swing out wide, I'm gonna be aiming for CT. Let's say instead that I think they're on an eco, or I know they're on an eco. That means that I should expect some closer angles, right? Maybe one close ramp, maybe one under balk, maybe even default playing with a deagle, playing a headshot angle. That means that when I swing out, my crosshair placement is going to be ready for these kind of angles. So you see, your game sense is going to tell you where your crosshair should be. What you should also do is use enemies util to inform you on where you should put your crosshair. So let's say we're about to go out A, and then, oh no, they smoke ramp. But I can see from the trajectory of that, you won't be able to see the green line, but you can tell it's somewhere on site. So when I swing out, I'm not going to be aiming for CT. I'm going to aim for site based on the trajectory of that util. My last bit here for entering, and I know there's been a lot, is that lots of times a CT is going to tuck in. Right? They see smokes coming over, they hear flashes, whatever. They're gonna hide and they're gonna play for time and try to kill you as they swing wherever they're tucked in. So this results in when you're trying to entry, nobody's home, right? It's kind of awkward because you're like, okay, what do I do? Well, you have set entry paths, and that's a different video, but also you should be holding your crosshair on a place that you think they're tucked in, right? So if for some reason, based on one of those variables that I've talked about before, that's informing me that maybe they're tucked in under balk. So as I'm swinging around, I'm gonna have my crosshair trained in on under balk. Or maybe they're hiding default. I'm gonna have my crosshair trained in on default. Maybe they're not there, maybe they are, but you want to be ready for that tucked in player to swing you. And what informs you on where they're tucked in? Those variables we talked about before, right? Now, the last thing I'm going to cover, and this is super important, is being able to clear out off angles. Now, off angles thrive because people don't have proper crosshair placement for them, right? I'm not going to swing out long and be looking here. I'm going to look here and I'm going to look library, right? So to counter this, we can throw in more than one peak, right? We can go boom, clear that angle, boom. Oh, I saw him. I can swing out, and then boom, I can swing library. You don't have to boom, clear that, and then go all the way here. Throw in extra peaks to clear out off angles. So clear arch, boom, I cleared that. Oh, there he is. Clear library. I jiggle out. Maybe I see somebody here. Boom, oh, boom. I can kill that spot. So throw in extra peaks. Don't just willy-nilly because I have good crosshair placement for on angles. I clear that. Okay, I'm going out here. Boom, you're gonna die to off angles because of that. Be a little more careful. Throw in some extra peaks to clear out these off angles. And another note is that a lot of people will hug their crosshair and when they're rounding a corner. And while this can be effective, you're going so fast that I can't react in time to kill that guy, right? So instead of doing that, I'm going to do sharp peaks. Boom, clear that. Okay, nobody there. Boom, clear this area. Okay, I saw somebody. I can be ready for that. Boom, clear library. Maybe somebody's over here. Flick onto them, right? So you're not exposing yourself to a ton of stuff at once, but you're still actively clearing out a bunch of space, right? What's also super important for crosshair placement is knowing how to peek. So go watch my peeking video. Thank you so much for watching. Join my Discord. I hope you have an amazing day. Goodbye. Look at this.